Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Hesse Bros. It's your boy Brent Hesse joining me, Luke, to talk some more NFL football. And Luke, I feel like we've had a couple of these this year now. Not a great week for our teams. The Chiefs lose to the Bills 28-21 on the road, and the Lions at home in a game you were there at, Ford Field. Your first appearance at Ford Field and did not go well. We can start, Luke. Which game would you rather start with?
You know what? I feel like both these games were both very similar as far as why the Chiefs and the Lions both lost. But let's go ahead and start with the Chiefs and Bills. And this one, it certainly looked like the offensive line was a problem. Just like in the Lions game, it seemed like it was pretty similar there. But Brent, was it completely the offensive line a problem? And is that going to be a problem moving forward for the Chiefs? We've seen in past years that's how you can beat this team. They lost to the Eagles in the Super Bowl because of the offensive line, and they lost to the Bucks a few years ago because of that offensive line. You get pressure on Mahomes like any quarterback, and that's how, you're able to stop an offense that should be humming with Andy Reid and Mahomes every single time.
No, that's true. That is absolutely the formula to beat the Chiefs is rush with four, get pressure with four. It worked in two Super Bowls. Both the Buccaneers and the Eagles did that pressure rate over 50% on Mahomes. And that was the case again, over 50% pressure rate. This is a defense that just lost Ed Oliver for the season, too. So, yeah, disappointing to say the least. The O line being a problem now. Jeffrey Simmons, that rookie first round pick, he's miraculously back at practice this week. So that's what it took. Yeah, it wasn't good. They were missing, just getting Trey Smith back in the lineup. They had some other injuries they were dealing with where Jawan Taylor was out for a little bit. Then they had to go to their fourth tackle. And even on the other side, Sumatea missed a snap or two. So at one point there were three starters from that game, and one of them already not being a starter out. It was not good. But it wasn't just the offensive line, really. I think a lot of it falls on Mahomes' shoulders. He had his worst completion percentage of his career against a defense that hasn't been that impressive all season long. I think that he missed some throws. I also think a lot of the designs were not dynamic enough. And sometimes Andy Reid does that. He will keep things back in the regular season, and you'll see a whole different set of plays in the postseason. But this year, with the Chiefs not being at the top of the division, it was important to win that game. Now at 5-4, it's not a good spot. It gives me some concern, certainly. I'm definitely not as confident as I was a week ago at this time, but I think mainly it was really Mahomes, also the offensive line, also the play calling, and the defense as well. They let Josh Allen do pretty much what he wanted to at will. There was a lot that went wrong in that game, and the fact that it still came down to the final play is pretty surprising to me. But yeah, the O line was one of the problems. Hopefully, though, Taylor's all right. Simmons comes back. You book in those tackles, and the Chiefs' offensive line looks more competent after the bye.
Yeah, I would expect them to be able to get some players back and be better. But coming up against the Broncos, I mean that's most likely going to decide the division. Two games against the Broncos still coming up, and that Broncos defensive line is really something. So if the Chiefs are not fully healthy for that, they could drop those games and end up looking at a wild card spot or worse.
The greatest thing though is you couldn't ask for a better matchup after a bye. The Chiefs get the bye, then they play their biggest game of the season on the road at Denver. You're absolutely right. Lose that game and kiss the division goodbye. The Chiefs have won this division every year since 2015. It's been an incredible 10-year run. And if they lose to the Broncos, it's not going to happen again. We'll talk about that game obviously more next week as the Chiefs are on bye, but it is a big stretch at Denver and then home against the Colts. It was a big 3 game stretch. They already lost one, can't afford to drop another one in that stretch. There were major concerns with the Chiefs, but I still like their chances against Denver, and I'm sure we'll be talking about the Broncos as this goes on.
Yeah, Rashi is still freed, so I'm not really too worried about their offense. They can cook.
Rashi was balling out. Well, Luke, let's start talking about the Lions Vikings game. And that one was a shocker. You were there, great seats, getting to watch Justin Jefferson one hand catches and just gritting his way into the end zone. But on the other side of the ball, Luke, Jared Goff, he could not really get the offense going. How much is he to blame in the Lions' home loss to the Vikings?
I really don't think Goff is that much to blame. I mean, you know what you need with Goff. You need him to have time and be able to hit his passes. It's not like he was missing passes; he was getting sacked, and I feel like most of the blame has got to go. Unfortunately, that coordinator talk. I think Johnny Morton is just not calling the right plays right now. He doesn't have the right guys in the right spots. Jahmyr Gibbs, you watch him trying to pass protect for Goff, going up against defensive tackles and ends coming off the edge like Daniil Hunter. Gibbs is that's not what Gibbs is there for. You put Montgomery out there if you want to pass block or pass protect. For Gibbs, get him, get enough protection for Goff to at least be able to get Gibbs on the outside for a screen, let him use his speed. We didn't see any of that on Sunday. It was atrocious. Instead, Gibbs is trying to make blocks on guys like that, and it's not working. Goff gets sacked all these times and just stalling out drives because of that. I mean, it was so frustrating to watch. And like you said, somehow the Lions still had a chance to win that, just like the Chiefs had a chance to win their game. And I think it comes down to how well the defense is playing right now. I mean, the offense basically and special teams off a block kick and off of a long return gave up, you know, what was it, 17 points off of just a few plays like that and off of another turnover. So, I mean, without that, the defense really played really well. And so I'm liking what I'm seeing out of them. I know that the offense can start, cooking a lot better. Just need to get those figured out. I think it falls on the shoulders of the OC. I mean, we weren't having these problems last year, and it's a lot of the same players.
Which team between Kansas City and Detroit? Because you're right, the games were pretty similar. Which team do you feel like got more exposed that what they showed in that game could hurt them going forward?
Yeah, honestly, I think it was more of the Chiefs just because I think those Lions, like I said, was more self-inflicted as far as you're not having the right guys in the right spots, not calling the right plays. And that was, pretty self-inflicted. A blocked kick that, would have likely the Lions would have won if we make that kick. But yeah, I think the Chiefs just the way that Mahomes was under pressure. I mean, I know Goff was too, but I think the Chiefs offense had looked unstoppable up to that point, whereas the Lions hadn't. And I mean, at this point, the Chiefs, we can see them being stopped.
What's going on with Jahmyr Gibbs? Why is he doesn't seem to he's had a couple nice games, but it was another really quiet game. And you mentioned his struggles in pass pro as well. Supposed to be one of the best backs in the league.
No, I mean, and he is too. I think we need to get Montgomery more involved and open up more things for Gibbs that way too, and just look to get him in the passing game more, get him on more, let him actually run some routes instead of trying to pass protect. And we'll figure it out. That Vikings defensive line was ready to go. It was hard to run on them. That's honestly the most, discouraging thing I saw was how much it reminded me of that Packers game week one, where the Lions got dominated on really both sides of the ball on the lines. And that's just something you can't have. That's not something we're used to seeing these past couple of years for the Lions. And that's what other teams in the NFC North, once you win the division 2 years in a row by that brand of football like the Lions have, they're going to be able to beef up their lines like the Vikings and the Packers have done to try to be able to stop the Lions, and they've been able to be successful doing that in both those first two games this season. So that's why I'm a little bit worried about that moving forward.
Well, we'll talk more about going forward. Tough week though for both Detroit and Kansas City, and a tough week again for the Cincinnati Bengals fans. Another just absolute heartbreaking loss following that Jets loss last week. I mean, there were three touchdowns in the final 2 minutes of the game. It felt like the Chiefs Bills divisional game from a couple years back, where there was just score after score when you thought it was done. And the Bears somehow walk it off with the sophomore Caleb Williams touchdown pass to the rookie Colston Loveland. Luke, he's a division rival. Were you impressed by Caleb Williams in that shootout?
Only a little bit. I mean, it was the Bengals we're talking about here. If he starts doing that against other real defenses, then yeah, I'll be impressed by him. I mean, we kind of know what he is at this point. He can make big plays, but he can also make big mistakes. Kind of like another guy in the division like Jordan Love. But yeah, I'm not really all that impressed. Definitely sad for Bengals fans though, putting up over 30 points the past 2 weeks against the Bears and the Jets and lose both of them, basically to take you out of playoff contention for the most part. I mean, that is a tough one to take.
Tough one to swallow. Absolutely. The Bengals, they did it to themselves with just having the most atrocious defense possible. You can tell even the players are pissed off. And Chase Brown after the game said, "Man, just get a stop. Like we did everything we could. All you have to do is finish the game off after you score under the final minute." Makes sense. Couldn't get it done. I don't know though, Luke. I'm this Caleb Williams. It's starting to look better and better every week. Ben Johnson. I knew it was going to be a rough start. Now they're looking better. Now, granted, yes, some of the competition hasn't been the best. They haven't really still had that signature win against a good team, but the record is right there. They're right in the hunt. They've got a coach that I believe in. They've got a quarterback that I'm believing more and more in every week. The Bears are a team that you have to at least have on your radar.
No, absolutely. And we'll get into that more later. But other thing about the Bengals, like I was walking out of Ford Field and all the Lions fans are sad. We got random Vikings fans going crazy. And I pull up the game. I'm like, no way. The Bengals got the onside kick. They're about to go win. Like they just scored the touchdown. And then I'm watching it with a couple other Lions fans as they're walking out. And Loveland gets that big touchdown. I'm like, come on, that would have been so electric if the Bears could have lost it. It would have made us feel a lot better. But at least another team in the division did lose. I'll let you talk about that, Brent.
That's my first week 9 reaction. You're right. The Packers, my reaction, Luke, the Packers have proven it. They're just an untrustworthy team. When you've got 2 losses on the season, we're halfway through the year. Your only 2 losses are against the Panthers and the Browns, and you've got a tie against the Cowboys. That's your only blemishes on your record. They're just an untrustworthy team. They, at their best, can beat anybody, but they're at their best about half the time at most. And I can't trust them to make a Super Bowl. You have to be at your best 3 games in a row. So the Packers, to me, are a very dangerous team, but they're not a contender or near the top of the list of contenders because they are a roller coaster ride, and Jordan Love is the poster child for it.
I do understand they are a roller coaster ride, but a team like that, especially with how many young players they have, they still have to be a contender because of how much talent we do see that's ceiling. We do see how they can play with any team in the league. And, if they start getting right towards the end of the year, they're definitely a team that can make a run to the Super Bowl. As sad as it is, the Packers could be able to do that, but I do like what I'm seeing right now where they start losing to random teams. And shout out the Panthers. All I have to do is not say anything about them, and they do great. If I say any word about the Panthers, they suck that week. Worst team you've ever seen.
Well, it's
But they
probably
got a
best.
winning record now.
Our viewers probably appreciate the less Panthers talk, the better as well. So, yeah, we can try to keep it that way, Luke. But yeah, it was an impressive win there, and the Packers. Yeah, they can beat anybody, but I don't think they can beat anybody 3 weeks in a row. That is my concern there. What was one of your reactions?
Yeah, it's definitely yet to be seen. And my reaction is the entire NFC North. I mean, this is a real race between all 4 teams. Like I said, the Packers and the Lions, both the 2 teams at the top lost. The Bears get the win, and the Vikings, obviously, a divisional win that they needed so bad, or else they would have likely been out of the race. But now, 3 teams at 5 wins, and the Vikings sitting there at 4 wins with 2 wins in the division already against the Bears and the Lions. Every team is still in the race here, and I mean they all got good records. They all have good teams. This is definitely the most exciting divisional race I think in the league right now. And I mean it's going to come down to the end, like it always does, having those divisional games towards the end of the year. And I'm excited to see who can come out on top. This is a division I've always loved watching. I think any NFL fan has always loved watching the NFC North. And it's just going to be an absolute treat watching this come down the wire these next 2 months.
Yeah, you're dead on, Luke. It's the only division of football where none of the 4 teams have a losing record. Last year, the Packers, Lions, and Vikings all made this playoffs and were all having phenomenal records. Now you throw in the Bears with a winning record this year. Between the time we recorded last week and this week, I placed a parlay on division winners: Chiefs, Lions, and Ravens. The Ravens were the only team that won, so we're a little nervous there, but it was crazy because the Ravens had the best odds of the 3 teams to win their division, and they were 2-5 or whatever the record was when they placed that. Yeah, that
Yeah.
record is, or that division is a mess. I think I had Vikings to start the year, and now look at them, 4-4. They're making some ground up. I thought they were going to be the only team to win, but like you said, the Bears pulled one out at the end. I still trust the Lions the most, though, in that division. like you said, the Packers are too inconsistent. The Lions, I think that they can remedy what their issues were the most between them and the Packers, and the Bears and the Vikings. It would still take a lot to be able to win the division, but they are in the race now. I definitely agree with that. I still think it'll be a two-horse race though when it's all said and done.
It likely will, but you can't count any of those teams out right now. Especially both Vikings and Bears, young quarterbacks could get hot.
Well, look, my other reaction now is I'm glad the season does not end today because the Chiefs will be on the outside looking in, number 8 in the AFC at 5-4. But the question isn't for me if the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs. It's which team right now in is going to be on the outside looking in. And I think that there's a couple of big candidates. The Chargers and the Jaguars, most likely. Broncos still possible as well, although they've got a head start there. The Jaguars, they get another break this week, going to play against Davis Mills. Meanwhile, the Chargers out Joe Alt again, and we saw how bad they looked when he was out earlier this season. So, where do you kind of think this AFC playoff race is going to land? Because surely you're not saying the Chiefs are going to stay out.
No, Chiefs will be in. I think the Jags are going to fall off. I have never really believed in them, and I don't see them being able to get enough wins to get in the playoffs this year. A big one though is going to come down to if the AFC North can get both the Ravens and the Steelers in, because that still has a decent chance. I mean, the Steelers, I mean, they're a good team. They just beat the Colts. If they can get the defense playing well, and they got a huge game against the Chargers this week, we're going to talk about later, but that has huge playoff implications. But yeah, I could definitely see the Jaguars falling out. I don't see many other teams with a chance to get in besides those Ravens though, and
I think
Chiefs.
if the Ravens get in, it would have to be for the division. I don't see them being able to get two just because the schedules for both those teams in the North are pretty loaded. Steelers don't have too many free ones left, but they did pick up a win. Nobody really expected them to get over the Colts. So, hey, we will see. What else do you have reactions to from last week?
Well, this is what I think, Brent. I think those Broncos that everyone keeps trying to put down, I think they are a true contender. And even though it doesn't always look pretty every week, this is a team. I'm sorry, Brent. I know you hate to hear it, but this is a team that can win in a multitude of ways. We've seen it because of how good their defensive line is and their defense overall, especially once they get Surtain back. They're going to be able to lock up, I mean, any team on any given day. And then Bo Nix, sure, he's inconsistent, but he's been playing well as far as being able to get the team to the finish line in these games. And their offense has enough weapons to where they can hold teams to whatever points the other teams can get. They can always be right there to barely edge them out. I mean, they've been in a lot of close games this year, and they usually are able to get the better of the other teams. And the two games that they did lose were both off game-winning field goals at the very end of the game. They can really play with anyone. I don't see this team getting blown out, even though they almost got blown out by the Giants, but they're a true contender.
At least you admit that part. They almost got blown out by the Giants. Just listen to yourself talk. Look, this team is just lucky. They hang out by the cliff's edge every single week. And at the last moment, when the wind looks like it's about to blow, somehow they're able to step away from the edge. It's so stupid. They they let the Texans march up and down the field with Davis Mills as the quarterback. The Texans had 5 scoring drives. They settled for 5 field goals. Meanwhile, the Broncos, they had 3 scoring drives, but they're lucky enough to get a 2-point conversion, tie the game up at 15, and then they have chance after chance in the fourth quarter to win it, keep having to punt, but Davis Mills just gives them the ball back. You knock CJ Stroud out of the game. You're playing against Davis Mills, and you need a field goal at the gun to win it. I just don't buy that. I don't buy that that's impressive. That's not impressive to me. So, congrats on another win, just like they keep winning, which is what matters for them to get a good seed. And obviously, if they beat the Chiefs, which I highly doubt that will happen, just as a surprise spoiler, who I'll pick next week. But if they do that, then yeah, they'll probably get the division and have a home field advantage. And they're good at home. There's no doubt about that. But I just don't buy that they're actually one of the best teams in the league because I watched them play and Bo Nix is missing throws and looking out of sorts for the first 3 quarters almost every time, unless he's playing the worst or second worst defense in the league. So, yeah, congrats to the Broncos on a win. not impressed.
They're a true contender. You'll see them in January. I guarantee that.
Yeah, I'd love to
Maybe
see the Broncos
February.
in January. I saw them in January last year. They got routed by Buffalo 33-7 or whatever the case was.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes this year. I think they definitely earned it, but it's more of a culmination of things, not just last week. But I mean, they're on a nice win streak here.
Well, some team we won't see in January, Luke, is my biggest surprise of week 9. And I think I had these guys in the NFC Championship, but the Commanders, they will go from conference title game to absolute irrelevancy. There's not
Yeah,
much to say. Obviously, Jaden Daniels sucks for him to get hurt. He's fun to watch, but that team was buried well before he got hurt in that game. They're just awful. They're just a flat out bad team. No defense. Jaden Daniels can't do it on his own. McLaurin's been a no show, held out, and has been a no show. I mean, there's not really much to spend talking about these guys. It's just crazy how they went from beating the Lions to now just a basically a stomping post.
I mean, it just shows how good Jaden Daniels is and how good his connection with McLaurin was. I mean, they won a lot of close games last year because of those two, and without them this year, they're one of the worst teams. Their defense has always been bad.
Well, that's probably the last time we talk about them all season. So just wanted to say,
Yeah,
hands up, I was wrong on the Commanders this year. They're awful. Okay,
yeah,
I was surprised by just how bad they've been this season.
yeah. That was wild. Another big surprise from Sunday was that Colts team giving Danny Dimes giving the ball up 5 times and 6 total turnovers for the Colts. Still somehow maybe in that game towards the end, not really. They kind of made it closer than it actually was. Steelers get a good win there, but the Colts offense has not looked, like they can be stopped until they go into this game against the Steelers, one of the worst pass defenses in the year or in the league so far this year. And Danny Dimes goes and does that, 3 picks, 2 fumbles, and I think it comes down to they weren't able to run the ball with Taylor. Like we said, they weren't going to be able to. We hit that wombo combo parlay.
Yes, we did.
Taylor couldn't get going, and Danny Dimes needing to throw the ball when the other team knows they're going to throw it. It does not look like a good recipe for that team. Very surprising though that he'd give it away that many times.
We were all over that fact. Jonathan Taylor under yards, Daniel Jones over. We were just way off on how that game was going to go. At least you were way off. I kind of had a feeling it was going to be close, and instead it was just the Colts looking like they were more pretenders than contenders when they finally go into a loud road environment, not some Los Angeles road environment where they actually have opposing fans. First real road game they played this year against an actual team. And Daniel Jones looked like what we've seen him look like in big spots before, which is out of sorts and struggling. But the Steelers, this is the only way they can win. They beat the Patriots when they forced 5 turnovers, and they beat the Colts when they forced 5 turnovers. If they're not forcing crazy amount of turnovers on teams, they're not beating good teams. And we saw that with the Packers last week. So yeah, it was a good win for Pittsburgh, but it just doesn't feel sustainable because you can't do that every week. Even then, the Colts did have a furious rally to almost try to get back into it late. So I wasn't that surprised by Danny Dimes doing that because it's Daniel Jones. At the end of the day, I'm still not sold on that guy. And that's why I'm not sold on the Colts. But I'm not sold on the Steelers either. I think that was just a perfect storm for them to get the win and to show Daniel Jones' true colors. Under that Indiana Jones outfit, he's still that guy that was run out of the New York Giants.
Hey, come on now. Don't sell all your stock in Danny Dimes right now. He can bounce back. I think that was just
I'm not
one
selling it
bad
all,
game.
not selling it all.
Yeah.
But I could see that game coming. It didn't shock me.
Yeah. Hey, everyone gets one of those. Every quarterback has one. He just can't let this become a trend or else the Colts are going to be in a bad spot. But yeah, I don't think it'll continue like that.
All right, Luke, let's get to talking about week 10. We've got some good matchups. What matchup would you like to talk about first?
Let's start with, I think, one of the most interesting games of the week for sure. We got the May versus Mayfield battle, Patriots versus Bucks, two teams that are doing really well in both their respective conferences. And Brent, I think this one's all about the quarterbacks. Mayfield, early MVP candidate, and May is absolutely storming towards that MVP right now. he's playing some of the best ball from a quarterback as young as he is that we've seen in a long time. Who do you think gets the better of the other one in this matchup? Who can play better between those two quarterbacks?
Well, I trust Baker Mayfield to play better in this game, and it's for two reasons. One is because Mayfield has been on this stage before. He's used to playing in big games, and he's delivered. Where meanwhile, Drake May, we've seen him play in really one big game his whole career, and that was that Sunday night against Buffalo, and he did amazing. He did a great job, but the defense also stepped up for him, and they kept leaving the door open for Buffalo, and they just didn't get there. The Bills did. But Drake May also, what he's doing is incredible, not just for a young quarterback, for any quarterback. Right now, he's got a consecutive streak of 200 yards passing and over 100 passer rating. I think now going on 9 games consecutively, pretty much the entirety of the season. And it's the longest record. Only Aaron Rodgers has ever had a streak longer than this. Even Mahomes at his prime only had a streak of about 7 games, and Brady about the same. So yeah, what May is doing is just playing. He has not like some of the games haven't been incredible, but his worst game has still been like damn good game. I feel like it just eventually has to end, and going up against a team where they might not be able to play with the lead the whole time. This Patriots schedule outside of that Bills game has been putrid. They're playing against the Jets and the Dolphins and the Saints and the Panthers and all the worst teams you can think of. The Browns, I don't know how they figured that out, but they are just on a gauntlet of the worst teams in the league. If you're a terrible team, you're due up to play New England, or you already have, because they have gotten the dealer's choice on that. Now they're playing against a team where they might have to play from behind a little bit, could put May under some pressure, and I trust Mayfield in this spot. That doesn't mean that I don't believe in Drake May, because I do think he's having a great season. I think he could certainly become one of those quarterbacks that we discussed near the top of the list. But I'll take Mayfield in this spot just because I've seen him do it before, and because they need a bounce back after that Lions loss. They're coming off a bye. Meanwhile, Drake May has been steamrolling different level teams. It's like when Gonzaga always whoops up on the West Coast. Now they go play a team out of their conference, and it's a different adjustment period. Normally, you don't see that in the NFL where you're playing tomato cans and trash teams for a month straight. But that's legitimately what New England's done since that Buffalo Bills game back in Week 5 or whenever it was.
Yeah, I mean they haven't been playing good teams, but I'm really not too worried about the Buccaneers secondary slowing Drake May down too much. And so I'm gonna go with Drake May in this one. Mayfield has been playing well, but without Evans, we've seen a dive in his performance the past couple of weeks before the bye, and I don't know if he's going to be able to shoot right back up to where he was playing early in the season right away after the bye. I think it might take a little bit more ramping up. Patriots defense, though, their secondary hasn't been all that either, so I think this one could be a shootout. Give me May in this one. I think that he's going to be able to hit more accurate balls, and his receivers are definitely underrated. Booty, Douglas just had a great game, and Stephon Diggs is getting going too with the Patriots. They got a lot of weapons there, and May knows how to get the ball to him.
Absolutely. Demario Douglas picked him up in a league this week, I think, because Booty might be out. Need to check that real quick, make sure, see if he's practicing or not, because the Buccaneers are also without some. Godwin's still not practicing. Looks like Igbuka's going to be fine. Yeah, Booty missed practice again today, so we'll see if he plays or not. But what weapons could be slimmed down on both sides? It's going to be a fun game. We'll have our official pick in who wins that game coming up, Luke. But we're showing our cards a little bit. I'm taking Mayfield. You're taking May. Now to the Ravens and Vikings. The Ravens are 3.5-point favorites on the road. But Minnesota coming off their most impressive game of the season, going into Detroit and winning there. Can they replicate their efforts against the Ravens, who've gotten Lamar back now?
I don't see it happening. I think the way that they beat the Lions was getting pressure on Goff early and often, and I don't see a way that they're going to be able to do that to Lamar to get him out of his comfort zone. Lamar did not run really at all last week, so if he can't if he's not moving, if he's not rushing the ball, then maybe the Vikings defense can do enough to slow them down. But I think the Ravens offense is just absolutely ready to cook. And their defense has been doing so much better than the start of the season. And now that Lamar's back, this Ravens team just seems like it's going to turn into an absolute wagon for the rest of the year. So I don't think the Vikings are going to be able to do as much as they did last week. They're not shocking anybody anymore. Obviously, that was a divisional game against the Lions. This is a game out of conference where Lamar always dominates these type of games. Yeah, Ravens will be able to get this one done.
He usually does always dominate the out of conference games, but then I remember that Detroit game from earlier this year. There's still something about the Ravens, like you have still yet to beat anybody. You get Lamar back, and yes, clearly you could tell Lamar did not want to run. They're trying to take that hamstring slow against Miami. They won comfortably because he is just that much of a difference maker, and it's the Dolphins, so they shot themselves in the foot on a couple of occasions. I think the Vikings are actually a legitimate team. So they're on the road. It came off an impressive. If they play like that, why can't they win again? I don't think that Minnesota wins this game, but plus 3.5, I could definitely see this being a field goal game when the Ravens still have plenty of question marks. I think the Vikings can give the Ravens a challenge. It won't be just a rollover and Ravens blowout.
That's fair. It's going to be a good old fashioned purple team matchup. Can't wait for that one. Moving on, though, 4 o'clock games. We got the Rams versus the 49ers. That one's plus 4.5 for the 49ers. And Stafford's been on a tear right now. Do you think the 49ers can slow him down?
It's not going to be easy. He is on a tear. If you remember, this was a rematch of the Thursday night game earlier in the season where the Niners won in overtime, but the Rams had some crazy miscues in that one, missed field goals, fumbling the ball right at the goal line, some other bad turnovers to keep the 49ers in it with Mac Jones. And in that game, they didn't really slow down the Rams. It was just the Rams' own miscues. It's probably going to be more the same. That solid defense has been impressive, but they're just running out of bodies. It's going to have to be another bend but don't break type game because Stafford is absolutely dealing. He belongs at the front at the start of any MVP conversation right now. I don't see the Niners defense slowing down Stafford much, but I don't know if they'll have to. We'll have to talk about that later.
Yeah, and I believe that, um, Bosa was playing for that Thursday night game, so
Yep.
not having him is going to hurt a lot too. And yeah, the Rams still had every opportunity to win that game, even with those miscues. So the Rams are definitely looking good in this one. But it's another divisional game and huge implications for the winner of that division as well.
Oh, absolutely. But it's back in San Francisco too. So we'll see. We'll see about that one. Luke,
Hmm.
talking Lions Commanders. Well, we were trying not to talk any more Commanders the rest of the season, but unfortunately they play one of our teams. So we'll try to make this one more Lions centric. Lions are already 7.5 point favorites in the nation's capital. Will Detroit take last week's frustrations out? It's probably a bad day to be wearing that maroon and gold, huh?
Yeah, no, this is going to be beautiful to watch. We just saw on prime time where Sam Darnold completed his first 17 passes against the Commanders. You know Jared Goff loves doing that type of stuff too. And coming off of a loss, the Lions have not lost off a loss. I've said this before, but it's been since that year where we went 9-8 at the start of that season. Once we started going on a win streak that year, we have not lost back-to-back games since. This team is going to be ready to go. We are not losing to this Commanders team, and it's going to be an absolute shootout for the Lions, not for the Commanders. It's gonna be a one-sided shootout. We're gonna be airing this ball out, and the Commanders are gonna have no answer for it. And this is a week where it's definitely a get right week for the offense. I mean, it's never been teed up better. Just going back to that Seahawks versus Commanders game, the way that just was a complete beatdown. The Lions are gonna watch that tape and be like, we can do the exact same thing to this team.
And they're going to want to. The Lions have been the biggest team in terms of margin of victory, just blowing out opponents over the last couple of years. 7.5 is a gift. It's one of my favorite plays of the week. Is the Lions will win this one by double digits, easy.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. So that was an easy one. But now we're moving on to some pretty good Sunday and Monday night football games. Starting on Sunday, we got the Steelers versus the Chargers. Chargers are at -3 right now. This is a very interesting game. We teased it a little bit. It's got big playoff implications. But which one of these two teams, Pittsburgh or Los Angeles Chargers, has a better chance to win their division, Brent?
To win their division, I think it's Pittsburgh. But to make the playoffs, I think it's the Chargers. Pittsburgh right now is in the lead, and I was surprised that they beat the Colts, and I don't think it's sustainable getting 6 turnovers to win games, but that's huge for them. It's they get a win, they don't lose a game on Baltimore, and that's what the rest of the season is going to be. Is Baltimore trying to make ground up on Pittsburgh, and when Pittsburgh is able to hold serve like that and win a game that you don't expect them to, now they've got a little bit more leeway against Baltimore. So that win was massive in their chances to win their division, although it doesn't really change my view on them that much. It definitely changes their chances to make the playoffs. Meanwhile, for the Chargers, they're a distant third in my eyes to win that division. Even though I don't believe in the Broncos at all, they're a game up there. And we've seen what the Chargers look like without Joe Alt. Somehow he is like the most important offensive lineman ever because Herbert goes from looking like a superstar MVP candidate to a scared player that you don't want trusting to throw the ball and drop back. Now, in this game, though, with all that being said, I still believe more in the Chargers than I do in the Steelers. So I like them in this game. But if Pittsburgh wins this game, absolutely, they are a threat to hang on and win the division.
Yeah, I do think that the Chargers are going to be able to win this game, but there's going to be a lot of terrible towels out there. Should be a really good game on Sunday night in LA. But I think the Chargers have a little bit of a better chance to win the division. They've already beat both the Broncos and the Chiefs are going to be playing them later that year. If they can just get one of those, get to 5-1 in their division, they got a good shot because you know the Broncos and Chiefs they could split, and the Chargers will be right there to clean it up, having a good chance at the end of the year. Whereas the Steelers, I don't see them being able to beat the Ravens later this year. I think the Ravens will be able to get them twice and be able to take that division.
We'll see, Luke. Now, Vegas, because it's an interesting question. Vegas thinks that Steelers are much more likely to win the division at plus 135. Chargers are 4-1, but the Chargers are minus 220 to make the playoffs. They do think they'll make it. And the Steelers also are minus money to make the playoffs. So even though they are not the favorites to win the division, they are still more likely than not to make the playoffs, according to the books, which is interesting. You like the Steelers in this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chargers. I think it's gonna be really close though. I probably would honestly take Steelers if you can get them at plus 3.5. I think that would be the way to go because I think it'll be close. But I think the Chargers probably will be able to sneak it out maybe by a field goal. It definitely seems like it's gonna come down to a close game.
I'll take the Chargers in that one. And now into Monday night, Luke, and this is a very big matchup, especially for the NFC. Major implications all around. Eagles, Packers. It's last year's NFC champs versus for a lot portion of this season who look like the NFC favorite. Now, obviously, that's diminished after the Carolina game, but the Eagles, as your NFC champs, defending Super Bowl champs, are 2.5 point dogs at Lambeau. Is that disrespect for Gangrene?
It definitely seems like it is disrespectful. I mean, the Packers are coming off their loss against the Panthers, and now the Eagles are 2.5 point dogs on the road. I get it in Lambeau, Monday Night Football, but I would take the Eagles side on this one. Even though I'm not that big of an Eagles believer, the Packers they can play up to their competition, but they can also just make big mistakes. And Jordan Love is really going to have to capitalize on the Eagles any defensive mistakes the Eagles make to be able to stay in this one. I'm very surprised by that line. I thought at least it would be a pick 'em or the Eagles a point or two favorite.
Well, it reminds me a lot of that Chiefs Bills line from last week because it's the Chiefs who always win, but they're on the road against a very legitimate team. Same thing. Eagles, they always win. They beat the Packers in the playoffs last year. They win the whole Super Bowl, win the whole NFC. But it's against a legitimate team at home. Now the difference was the Chiefs were the favorite in that one. Now this time the Packers are getting the favoritism, and I like the Eagles in this spot as well. The Eagles look like they've cleaned some things up. They had that rocky stretch. They looked like they cleaned some things up, and they were on bye last week. Got to get some extra time coming off bye. They had a good win against the Vikings. That Vikings win's looking better and better, especially how Minnesota played against Detroit. Now Green Bay, we'll see what they've got here. I'll take Philadelphia in this spot though.
It definitely should be an interesting one. We got a lot of good games this week, Brent. But let's get into our picks. Last
Yeah.
week we went 5 of 6.
I mean,
You unfortunately.
we were locked in, Luke.
Yeah.
Somehow my Raiders, they just kick the extra point. Just go for the tie. At least give me a push on my money line. I mean, I was watching the Chiefs lose and sad. Look over. I'm like, well, might get a push over there. Nope. They just go for the 2 point conversion instead of just the push and the tie. That was a tough one. But other than that, I mean, we, like you said, what is it called? Mumbo Wumbo. Jonathan Taylor under, Jones over. We had the quarterback running back duo dialed in last week.
Yep, that was electric. And yeah, besides that, we hit the rest of them. That upset pick, yeah, just that 1 2 point conversion away. You got to go for the win there, Brent, though. You can't go for the tie. We're not the Packers here. Come on.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Well, who's your upset of the week, Luke?
My upset, we talked about it earlier. I'm going with the Patriots. I think Tampa Bay has been overrated all year. I don't see like I've said, this seems like a very similar team to what we've seen for past Tampa Bay teams, and they're just not at a high enough level right now. The with Mike Evans being out, their injuries, I mean, it's all going to be Ibuka, and I don't think that's going to be enough to be able to beat the Patriots. Patriots, I think, are a wagon right now. I don't see why you'd get off the train. I'm going with the Patriots for sure on this upset plus 2.5.
I'll be on Tampa Bay, and I think we're going to disagree on my upset because we also talked about this too. I like San Francisco against the Rams. They've already beaten them once this year. Shanahan just that's about the only guy that McVay can't seem to figure out besides Belichick, obviously, before he was retired. The Niners just keep winning. They might get Brock Purdy back this week. Christian McCaffrey is electric. George Kittle back in the fold now. So this Niners team, they're at home. They're getting a lot of points. The Rams have played good. Every team, Luke, that climbs to the top of the power rankings, every team, everybody, the Lions, oh, they're the best. They lose to the Chiefs. No, the Packers are the best. They lose to the Panthers. The Chiefs, they're the best. They lose to the Bills. There's so much parity in the NFL this year. The Rams, I think it's their turn to get knocked down a couple pegs. And San Francisco is definitely a worthy adversary. I like the Niners at home.
The way that Adams and Puka have been playing together, I mean, I think that addition of Adams cannot be understated. This is looking, a lot like that earlier Rams teams we've seen, like when they had Cup, they always have those two receivers. Stafford can get those two guys going, and it's very tough to stop. So I'm going with the Rams on this one. I'd take them by a touchdown for sure.
Hmm. Well, this team is definitely going to win by a touchdown and a field goal. It's the Bills, my lock of the week. They smoked the Chiefs. They're a wagon. And the Dolphins stinky. So we're just going with the Bills in this lock pick. But it's really because your lock pick, you took mine, Luke. And this is your time to highlight this team, which means it's probably going to go bad for you.
I know y'all might want to stay away from this because every time I talk about them, they end up having the worst game. Doesn't look like they should even be a professional football team. But this week, they're going up against one that definitely shouldn't be in the New Orleans Saints. Looks like one of the worst teams that we've seen in a long time. I mean, they cannot do anything right. And so give me the Panthers at home, minus 5.5. I definitely take that. They're going to be able to do enough. They're in the playoff hunt right now with a winning record. They're not going to drop this game to the Saints, a team that is playing for nothing.
That's exactly why they will. It's just because they're actually legitimate now. They get their biggest win of the season, and then they're gonna go back to being. I don't understand. I was clowning you for being on the Panthers, but then I'll look up and they've had a winning record. They're back to a winning record. They were 4-3, then they lose, and you're like, okay, it's time for them to fall off. Then they win again. Now they're 5-4. So I can't remember when I was clowning you for it, but eventually somehow they racked up wins over the course of this season. And yeah, to be honest, I think they'll win again. I don't still don't know what they're doing that's so good because the one play I watched of them was Bryce Young looking like he was throwing this perfect fade route to the corner. And then somehow the ball ended up about 10 yards short and it was just intercepted in the middle of the end zone. It wasn't even close to the pylon he was trying to throw it to. I don't understand it, but somehow they are winning games. Rico is sensational, the running game. Yeah, they're playing against Tyler Shuck. They'll probably win. I just don't get how they keep winning games.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you don't need to watch them. You just need to see that win total keep stacking up. And hey, before you know it, they get a winning record. Maybe the Jets will get a winning record before we're said and done this year. You never know, Brent. Could
Okay,
happen.
now you're really pushing it, Luke. On to our prop picks of the week. And this is a guy, their team put up 47. He's their number one receiver on the year. Didn't have a catch. They're going to feed Romo Dunze this week after that. Now, he's just in the second year. He's not the diva type, but he's going to be wanting to get the ball. And I think Ben Johnson's going to be wanting to get him the ball early and often. They're playing against the Giants, so another team they should be able to rack up points and yards against this week. I like Odunze in a bounce back spot. 52.5. Hammer that.
I like that, Brent. Hey, and if you want another wombo combo, I'll throw in a Manun guy over. That dude looked electric, and he's averaging over 6 yards per carry right now on the year.
Yeah.
Absolute dog. So toss that one in there too for the wombo combo.
Oh, Luke hyping up the Bears. Love to hear it.
Hey, they'll be able to get the win this week. I'm not too worried about them. Lions already put up 50 on them, so I'm not too worried about them in the division, even though they could make a run at it. But for my prop, my real prop this week, I'm going with the guy who I have on the upset, the team that's gonna get upset, Emeka Ibuka. He was coming off of a hamstring, and they threw him in the game against the Lions. He didn't do a lot, but now coming off the bye, he's got his rest, and he's the only guy, really, maybe Cade Otton that Baker can throw to. They got his line at 67.5 right now, and I think the Patriots are going to be able to get up, and Baker's just going to be looking for him every time down the field. He's great at getting open, so I think this is a free one.
I love that one too. Igbuka is 67.5. Him and Odunze both about to eat. Both have wide receiver overs this week. Our props have been popping, Luke. I think we have a chance for a back-to-back 2 for 2 weeks there.
Absolutely. Let's keep
Only
it
thing,
rolling, Brent. And I'm getting a little thirsty.
only thing better than our prop picks is to finish it off with a 12-pack. Time to wash it down, Luke. It's time for me to power rank the top 12 teams in the NFL. It's a challenging week.
Oh, it's always a tough one. And I mean, you didn't really like mine very much last week, but we'll see. We'll see if yours can be any better because I think mine was close to perfect.
Well, I'm coming around on something that you had in the 12 pack, and it's starting at number 12. You had this team at 12. I thought it was jumping the gun, but now they won with Lamar. The Ravens slide in at number 12. I legitimately think they're with Lamar about the 12th best team currently. That could still definitely rise. Need to see more from the defense, but I got the Ravens at 12 with Lamar back. At number 11, the Colts. You got to fall a little bit for that performance. You turn the ball over 6 times. It kind of reminds everyone why nobody actually thought they were a real Super Bowl contender, even when they were at the top of the AFC. And technically, right now, they still are the 1 seed in the AFC, but the Colts have to come in at 11. And they come in behind this team that they beat, but because of a leverage call, they actually had lost to them. Then they gave them a second chance. It's the Broncos at number 10. They're pretty much about even with each other. They're both teams with good records that I don't think can make the Super Bowl. So they're at 10, fitting right next to each other. And number 9, another team that I really don't see making the Super Bowl is the Packers for different reasons. Their ceiling is way higher than the Colts or Broncos, but they just play inconsistently too often. So the Packers also fall down my list to number 9. At number 8, I've got the Seahawks. Darnold, what he's doing is very impressive, but what's more impressive is JSN. It's like everyone can see it coming. They didn't even have Cooper Kupp on Sunday night. It was all JSN. It was all they needed. He is spectacular. And the defense is dominant too. That gets overlooked. But that is a damn good defense that McDonald has in Seattle. They are a real threat. besides their pumpkin quarterback, at the end of the day, we know what he's going to turn to when the clock strikes playoffs. So that is number 8. And number 7, this team, just because I trust their quarterback more, they beat him head to head already. The Buccaneers. Overall, I don't think the Bucs have as good a team as the Seahawks, but I trust Baker more. And Igbuka is awesome. They're a fun team, and they're just a team that wins games. They've only lost 2 on the season, and both against top teams. So, I mean, they lost the Eagles and the Lions. That's it, and they're playing. They just win games, so you can't knock them for that. I like the Bucs at 7. That's my 7 through 12, first half of the 12 pack, Luke.
Well, Brent, I was hoping you'd leave those Bucks off where they belong, but no, you put them all the way up at 7. Besides that, it looks pretty solid. I'd move the Colts up more than that, though. I mean, it was a bad loss, but that seemed like more of a fluky game. I'd still have them up there, around probably just switch them with the Bucks. And I have a feeling like it seems like what you think the Broncos are is what I think the Bucks are, and it's pretty tough to really debate it too much till we see some more games.
Yep. And now we'll get to our top 6, Luke. At number 6 in the NFL right now, the New England Patriots. They keep winning. I got them one spot ahead of the Bucks. They play this week. I think because it's in Tampa, that's why I lean Bucks in that one. But the Patriots are very good as a team, and I'm excited for that game. Got them at number 6, though they've earned it. Number 5, Detroit. It was a weird loss. They need to come down a little bit, but I still believe in them as one of the Super Bowl contenders. And these top 5 teams, I think, are the main Super Bowl contenders. So I've got Detroit at 5. At number 4 is Kansas City. They also have to come down after another loss in the regular season to the Bills. It's heartbreaking. It's like, oh no, a loss in the regular season to the Bills. Whatever will happen in January. So Chiefs are at 4. At number 3 is Buffalo. Their defense was the most impressive part. That's the part I did not see coming. Well done to them. Now, they had one of their best defensive players in that game. Hoyt, he tore his Achilles in the contest late, so that's an awful break for them. Another guy out for the season on the defense, but they're playing well. James Cook is a monster. Chiefs had no stopping him. Top 2, the Rams at number 2.
Wow.
Stafford is MVP right there, front runner. You talked about that receiving combo of Nakua and Adams family, and there's no stopping it. And their defense is good enough. Their coaching staff is solid. They've got everything you would want in a Super Bowl contender. But we've already seen this team at number 1 win a Super Bowl. We've seen them already beat the Rams this season. So Philadelphia is back at number 1. They took a hiatus in the middle of the season after those back-to-back losses. But right now they're back to being number 1. They'll have to prove it on Monday night to keep that spot. But that is my Week 10 12 pack, Luke. 12 best teams in football.
Brent, that was actually pretty solid. I would definitely not have the Eagles at number 1 though. You gotta flip them and the Bills. And the Bills just had such a more impressive win right there against the Chiefs and trending in the right direction. The Eagles are trending in the right direction too, but their wins are against the Giants and a solid win against the Vikings, but that was still a few weeks ago. I'm not completely sold on the Eagles yet as the best team in the league, but I like what you did there. Maybe could throw the Seahawks up there instead of the Patriots, drop them back a little bit, but pretty solid.
Thank you, Luke. I appreciate the compliments. Come on down and try my 12 pack anytime because I know I'll be ready to have some this weekend as we're enjoying the NFL. Luke, it's a great slate. Final thoughts from you, my friend.
It's going to be a great weekend of football, and hopefully this time I can just lay back and relax on my couch and watch a Lions W instead of being that stressed in the stadium and be able to watch a lot of other great NFL games.
Yeah, the Chiefs on bye this week, which usually it just makes the week not as fun. But with these loaded matchups, it should be stress free for the Lions too. We can both just dive into the rest of these contests. So good luck if you tail any of our picks. I like a lot of them this week. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, follow on whatever platform you are listening or watching on, and enjoy another week of some NFL football.